Welcome to the Legal Navigator Podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca from Law Training Center. Today's episode will be on the topic of SQE, Start Your Legal Career Now. We are pleased to have 4 wonderful guest speakers joining us today. It would be great if each of you could briefly introduce yourselves.
Hi there, I'm Miah from LTC Kent. I've just finished the course and I'm here to help and discuss with you my experience.
Thanks, Sunny. Fatima, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you for the invitation. And I'm Fatimah Zahrah, and I'm studying the SQE1 prep course with the Law Training Center at the moment. I recently got my LLB degree from the University of London, and that was also based entirely on distance learning. And I'm very happy to be here learning from the distance in Dubai via Law Training Center.
Perfect. Thanks. Katy.
Hello, everybody. My name's Katy. I'm studying on the SQE1 at the moment. I think I've been asked here because I also have 2 quite legally related jobs. In the first one, I work for Citizens Advice, and I've worked in the advice sector for a very long time. It's been all I've known throughout my working career. And I'm also a non-legal member of various tribunals, particularly the Social Security Tribunal and the Employment Tribunal. So I've got a certain degree of experience as a very, very minor judicial appointment holder.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
I guess you would call me managing partner. We use the term chair of our board. I'm a commercial litigation lawyer and getting on for responsible, I'd say in my career, nearly 100 qualified solicitors I've either supervised or been responsible for.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. So great. Thank you all. We'll be hearing from our guests later on this session, but just to give you an overview of what we will be going through. So I will be providing you with essential information about the SQE and offer an overview of the route. And then after that, our guest speakers will come on and share insights on the SQE route as well as their personal journeys. If time allows, we will also conclude with a dedicated Q&A session where we'll address any questions that you may have. So let's get started. For those who are not familiar with Law Training Center, just a quick background about us. Our head office is based in the United Kingdom. Our expertise lies in delivering accredited online courses that are accessible worldwide. So we are one of the first global provider to receive accreditation from the main awarding bodies for legal qualifications. Our dedication is focused on creating alternative pathways to enter into the legal profession, and all our courses are thoughtfully crafted to be flexible, self-paced, and guided by experienced tutors and practitioners within the field. So we provide a range of professional courses to support different routes into law, including an array of SQE courses, each tailored to cater to various learning styles. So whether you're a law graduate or an experienced professional seeking refresher courses, or even a beginner in need of extra support and resources, our SQE courses are designed to meet your specific needs. So what is the SQE route? The Solicitors Regulation Authority introduced the Solicitors Qualifying Examination route in 2021 as the new centralized assessment for individuals seeking to qualify as a solicitor in England and Wales. So replacing the previous LPC route, the SQE offers greater flexibility, allowing candidates to choose when and where they study and take the exams, while also being more accessible and cost-effective without the need of a training contract. Essentially, the SQE prioritizes competence and equips aspiring solicitors with the practical skills necessary for a successful legal career. So to qualify as a solicitor through the SQE routes, candidates must fulfill the following requirements. So you need to have a degree in any subject or an equivalent level 6 qualification. You'll then need to complete the SQE assessments, which consist of 2 parts. So SQE 1 focuses on theory. It assesses candidates on their legal knowledge and understanding, while the SQE 2 focuses on the practical legal skills and competencies. You also need to pass the SRA's character and suitability test, as well as complete 2 years of qualifying work experience. So for any international learners joining us today, it's worth noting that your qualifying experience can be taken overseas and does not need to cover English or Welsh law. However, your work experience must be confirmed by a solicitor of England and Wales or a compliance officer for legal practice. So just to emphasize again, unlike the LPC routes, there is no mandatory requirement for a training contract. As long as you are actively engaged in providing legal services, your work experience can encompass a wide range of activities. So this includes works done as a paralegal, or any relevant work placements completed during your academic studies, and even part-time or full-time positions, as well as voluntary works within charitable organizations or law clinics. Which leads us on to our Access Law Clinic. So Law Training Centre is in partnership with the Access Law Clinic, which is an online clinic that provides valuable pro bono work experience. The Access Law Clinic offers the opportunity for those undertaking the SQE route to become an online law clinic associate and gain some of their qualifying work experience. The clinic also works with experienced solicitors to review and confirm qualifying work experience for SQE candidates. And as part of our partnership, Law Training Centre has developed a Foundations to Law Clinic practice course, which covers the introductory knowledge for clinical legal education. I'm now going to pass you over to our guest speakers, who's going to give us further insights. It'd be great if you could all just start off by explaining your current role to our audience today. So if we can start off with Sunny, if that's okay. Sorry to pick on you first. If you could just explain to our listeners today a bit more about your background, that would be great.
So at the moment, I'm a trainee solicitor at a firm called ABS Solicitors based in Braintree. I was doing the SQE too. I've just finalised my 2-year course with them. Yeah, so I found with regards to the SQE2, I found it to be very helpful, very covered a range of topics, and I learned a lot of skills that I could easily transfer to and put into practice when I was working in my firm. So it was good to have the theory behind it via the LTC, and then I'll put it to practice when I was working in my firm. So I've done 1 year of my training course. I have 1 year left to complete, and then I'll be fully qualified. I decided not to go through with the exams, as I decided to go through with the training contract in the end, as I had the luxury of choosing both routes to qualify. So yeah, in the end, I decided it would be more suitable for me to go through the trainee route. As I say, I learned a great deal through the LTC and gained a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge in various different topics and the skills that I'd need to put into practice.
Great, thanks, Sunny. Katie, do you want to go next and just let our listeners know a bit about your background and your journey into the legal profession?
Hi, everybody. So, as I mentioned, I've got nearly 30 years in legally related kind of employment work, partly as a lot of it in the advice sector and a lot of it in the judicial sector. And a few months ago, one of my judge colleagues turned to me and said, if you were legally qualified, then I would support you to apply to become a judge rather than a non-legal member of the panel. So that's what's kind of prompted me to undertake this new piece of training. Very helpfully, that experience already gives me the 2 years of qualifying work experience. So being middle-aged as I am, it's very helpful to already have that as a jumping off block, to know that I don't need to do that after I get this qualification. What those jobs also give me, I think, is most of the skills for the SQE2. So what I feel as though I need to concentrate on at the moment in terms of doing the course is the SQE1 element of the learning the law, because the areas of law that I work in and have worked in for such a while are very specific. So I know a lot about debt, I know a lot about benefits, I know a lot about employment law, I know quite a lot about social security law, which is great and absolutely wonderful. But what I'm really excited about is to learn a lot about the broader aspects of the law. And I think this course is giving me a lot of that. So it's great to have it, and I'm really enjoying being on it.
Fantastic. So, Fatima, as an international learner, could you just give us just a bit about your background and just why you've chosen to take the SQE route in England and Wales?
Well, I was into business and commerce side more, and I had absolutely no link with the law, but somehow it occurred to me that I should do an LLB, and it really got me, interested into this while I was learning it. And then I was getting good grades as well without studying too much for it. So it got me really interested. And like Katie said, also being in the middle age, it's a difficult decision to take to switch fields. But I don't, when I look back, I don't really at all regret it. And then it occurred to me that because I've done a UK degree, I wanted to know what is the qualification route there. Then I did some research and got to know that the QWE requirement that we have for 2 years Most of the work that I was doing as a commercial manager back in telecommunications, it occurred to me that it was somehow linked with it, like contract drafting, I would say. So, or maybe just contract review. So I thought I should give it a try. And the idea that, you can get dual qualification, especially considering I'm based in Dubai at the moment. So here there is a lot of demand for solicitors who are qualified through the SQE route. And because we have common law jurisdictions here, the ADGM and the DIFC. So that got me, really, really intrigued me, because usually, any state, any country would prefer their own lawyers. But here, because it's a multicultural environment, I thought that I should give it a try. So, and that is the most, the quickest possible and the most rewarding route here, instead of becoming a barrister, which is, I would say, a more lengthy process. So this was way easier. So I thought I should do it. And then obviously, because being a distant learner, sometimes you feel, you don't have difficult to set a routine. But somehow the resources that we get on the portal that we have for Law Training Center, we have a planner, and, for learning, we have weekly things and monthly updates and everything. So that was really, really helpful. So I thought I
Brilliant.
should continue with this. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Fatima. Kevin, would you like to just let our listeners know just about your current role and your journey into the legal profession?
Yeah, sure. So about a third of me is a lawyer doing complex commercial litigation. The firm that I'm chair of, we have 6 offices, about 165 staff. Most teams are in the Legal 500. We do everything except crime. And I started out life working as a security guard, been a milkman. I have sold carpets. I have worked in bars of varying repute when I was a lot younger. That's probably a different webinar. But I wanted to do law. I sold wills in supermarkets, and I eventually got a job doing legal cost negotiation, which then led into working in the cost department in a law firm, which led to a training contract. And I worked for 2 firms in Manchester. I worked in London, and I moved to Northamptonshire in 2003. That's the whistle stop.
Brilliant. Thank you. So all coming from different backgrounds. So a lot to unpack there. But if I just go back to Sunny for a second, just to touch on something you mentioned earlier, you said you started with the LPC route. Could you
Yeah.
just mention what specifically influenced you to, transition to the SQE route rather than just completing the LPC pathway?
So I'll go back to the start. So I completed my LLB with Kingston University, and then I completed my LPC with Hertfordshire University, and then I started working at various firms. I gained legal experience as a caseworker and as a paralegal, where I completed 2 years, which eventually was my 2 years qualifying work experience. That was mainly the reason that I thought, okay, I've got the 2 years qualifying work experience. Let me start the SQE. So I had that in my book, and then I started the SQE. And as part of completing the LPC, I was exempt from completing the SQE1. So I thought that's another stepping stone crossed. So I started the SQE2, as I thought this would be the best route for me to qualify, as I wasn't able to obtain a training contract at the time. So yeah, like I said, I heard about the LTC. I had good reviews about them. I heard it was online, and that worked well for me because of the flexibility and just worked around my schedule. So decided to go for the SQE route, but as life goes, that's when I obtained the training contracts, completed them side by side, and as I mentioned earlier, they both complemented each other well with the training contract in terms of the practical element of it, and the LTC in terms of the theoretical aspect of it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Katie, you've obviously got just a bit more experience than most or some. It would be good to know why you've decided to do the SQE over any other available options, such as like the SILEX CPQ route, for example. Is there any specific reason, like any sort of career goal you're looking to achieve through the SQE?
My goal is to become a judge,
Brilliant.
and that shouldn't be too difficult. You need to
Yeah.
have the legal qualification in the first place, and it doesn't really matter what your legal qualification is, because you need to then do, in order to qualify to apply to become a judge, you need to then do 5 years further qualifying work experience within the law. The reason I've chosen the SQE as opposed to any other route is speed and cost. It's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. And I have an interest in the law anyway, and for me, it's practical and it's sensible to do things as quickly and as effectively and as cost effectively as I can.
Brilliant. Good points you touched on there. So, Fatima, I just wanted to see if you had anything to add about the key benefits of pursuing a dual qualification as you are doing this overseas?
Yeah, so the key benefits, other than obviously, which everybody thinks is better remuneration, I think the key benefit is the exposure that you get. And so, because let's say if somebody has studied law in Pakistan and then through University of London and then, doing the SQE route, and then you're also getting aware of the UAE laws. So, you tend to become a multi-jurisdictional kind of a lawyer, I would say, and which is absolutely necessary because as, more and more commercial activity, it becomes intertwined over the entire globe, I would say. So it makes you more aware of what's going around and how to deal with the real life problems, real life challenges, rather than just bookish knowledge. So I believe this is one key benefit other than remuneration part. And also you're able to connect with people, like-minded people across the globe. So this is something which I really appreciate.
Perfect. Thanks, Fatima. So, Kevin, from the employer sort of perspective, it will be good to know what your views are on the SQE and why you've chosen to sponsor your employees to study it.
I think what's been really interesting is from an employer's point of view, and not just from my own firm's point of view. When the SQE came out, everybody hates change.
Yeah.
And, there's still conversations about, was it broke? Does it need fixing? We have trainees who are on rotation SQE. We have trainees who are on rotation LPC, and we have trainees who are just doing sole SQE in one particular seat. The reason that we would be interested in it, apart from sort of getting ready for 10 years' time, is that, frankly, we can afford to sponsor it. We couldn't afford to sponsor the LPC now. I think that the costs over a period of time, if you're a student looking to fund things, it is quicker and it is cheaper, but it works differently. So it's go to the traditional college, what teaches law, and they will charge you one price for 1 year or two. Whereas this thing, it can be tailored. You can do it quicker if you want. You can do it longer if you need. And I think that's really special for the learner's point of view. But from our point of view, we can qualify more because we want lawyers. We don't want trainees. We want lawyers. So we have to invest in trainees. We love our trainees. We've currently got 23, I think, past or future, the ones who are on it or waiting to start. So what we want is to show them our investment and that they then stay with us when they qualify, because there's no point disappearing down the road to someone that wouldn't invest in them 3 or 4, 5 grand more down the line. That's the hope. So it gives us that two-way conversation. And mostly we're structuring it the same as our training contracts because we can value our own experience.
Brilliant. So I just wanted to touch on, I'm guessing you probably might find it just a little bit easier in comparison to like the training contract side of things where they have to have different like months in different seats. Whereas with the SQE, if you get like a trainee or you guys are looking specifically for somebody in wills and probate, perhaps they don't have to do all the other areas of law if it's just nothing that they're interested in or you're looking for them to even develop in.
It's really subjective, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of these people, and we have a range, we started, if anybody sees on LinkedIn, someone started that, frankly, is late to law, a mature student a couple of years ago, and good for them. And we love that because it's all about diversity. The majority of applicants are in their early 20s, and the majority of applicants want to do suits because they've seen it on TV, or they want to do something that they thought about when they were 16. I was exactly the same. I wanted to do corporate. I don't do corporate now, never have. So you don't necessarily know what you want, but there is a tranche of learners who say, I was 12 and I knew I wanted to do that. I still want to do that. So actually, why were they learning 6 months in my world of contentious if they want to do wills and probate and that's what they want to do?
Yeah.
Or corporate, why does it matter? Why do they need that? Gone are the days of your one lawyer does absolutely everything, because we wouldn't employ that lawyer. Many firms wouldn't. So for the people that are laser focused, I think it's great because they accelerate. You get someone that's done something for 2 years, it is more than 4 separate seats of 6 months. They really, really add value. So for those people, we will give them in one seat if they're sure, not what we want, what they want, if they're sure. And the other ones who aren't sure, well, guess what? For donkey's years, we've had this rotational system, so let's just put them in that. That works fine.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So how do you envision the SQE benefiting both individuals and your organization just in the long run?
I think it's the flexibility for both of us. I hope it's retention. I don't think it makes much difference attraction wise, because by the time people are coming to us, they've decided if they're doing the LPC or not. So I hope it's about retention, that they see that they've invested in us. And I had a careers chat with a very talented young lady yesterday, who happens to know someone that works at the firm, and they twisted my arm to talk to her. It was great. And the point there was, look, you don't want to be a trainee either. Like Sonny, I want to get qualified. You know, like Katie, I want to practice in this particular thing. I don't want to be a trainee forever. It's a necessary step. So do you want to leave that step with a load of debt, or do you want to work and earn at the same time? So the financial aspect, as Katie said, really, really relevant. But it is hard work. I can't tell you whether it is harder, because I've never done it. I did the LPC at college a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, ages ago. But it is hard. I see the difference in the people that work and study to the people that have just done, you know, the traditional, I went to here, I went to there, now I'm on my training contract. But I also see the difference at the other end, because they get it. If you can work and study at the same time, you know, you've got it. This isn't a career on a plate. You've got to work for it. And so what if you do a little bit less networking in your 2 years training because you're studying? It doesn't matter. You're not there to network, really. So I think that, you know, you can juggle plates a lot because you proved it, because you needed to do it. So I'd say that one thing is it's possibly arguably harder. LPC students will tell differently, and Sonny might have a view on that. But from what I see, if you can work and learn and at the same time, then that really sets you up for a demanding career.
Yeah. Good point you've touched on there. So it would be good to hear from you guys, just your experience with balancing online learning and also like what you do on the side, so your jobs or your lives in general. So if you could share your experience with just the course itself, online learning, and discuss how it's perhaps beneficial in advancing your career. So Fatima, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the thing is, for going, for my job, I have to take a bus for about 2 hours. And usually I tend to study in the bus because the platform itself is so user friendly. I get to study in bus. Sometimes if I don't feel like watching the videos, I can, listen to podcasts. So somehow I'm learning on the go. So this flexibility is something that I really enjoy while studying at the Law Training Center. And also one more thing, like sometimes, because you have this planner thing, you can simply put whatever you want to study. Let's say you want to study tort law for 2 weeks, and then next 3 weeks you want to do criminal practice. So you're able to organize it like a calendar on the platform itself. So it's just like a click away. Everything is a click away over that platform. And also the kind of support that we get from the teachers, which are just an email or a message away, and we can set timings with them. And if there is a need for extra support, we're given. So this is something that I really appreciate studying here.
Great, thanks, Fatima. Sunny, your trainee solicitor. It'll be good to hear how you're balancing like online learning. I'm sure it's probably like demanding. What are your views on how it's going?
I second what Fatima said about it just being a click away, which was one of the most convenient things. That, for example, like she said, when I drive on the way to work, I can just listen to the lectures, and anything that I've missed, it's always recorded, the workshop, so I can listen to it via my system. In terms of the actual workshops itself, they were always online. So, and they gave us a schedule as to when they'd be. So I'd work around it. If it clashed with my when I'm at work, my boss would be very happy for me to do it at work. So it kind of gave me a flexibility to do both. In terms of the actual workload, yes, it was quite demanding in terms of working and then coming on my days off studying. But yeah, you just kind of work around it. You do what you can. There was no deadline as such to complete the task, so that made it a lot more flexible. If there was, for example, mock assessments or mock interviews that we was preparing, the lecturers would be very supportive in working around you and doing what's convenient for me. Yeah, but obviously with my training contract, yeah, it's a busy schedule. But like I say, I kind of worked around it.
Great, thanks. And Katie, do you want to share your experience with online learning? And perhaps do you have any tips for people who might be like struggling with balancing both?
Oh, not sure about tips. I'll see if I can get to that bit. challenging. I've got 2 full-time jobs, and this is a commitment. It has to be said, and you have to be committed. And that said, things happen. Things happen to intervene. So hopefully you do your best to catch up. But given that, I suppose one of the benefits of this course over some of the other organisations that offer the SQE is that you can do it at your own pace. So you don't have to be there every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. If you miss your Tuesday session that you had booked into your diary, then you can catch up on a Thursday or a Friday. So that's really helpful, and I really value not being quite as a timetable, because my schedule's quite hectic. I'm all over the place all of the time. So it's quite a challenge. So I really like having that option of, as Fatima said, you can dip into this, you can dip into that if you want to, or you can just sit down and do a dedicated study day, and that's very helpful. I do like the accessibility of the platform, and something else that I really value about this course in particular, or the way that the LTC is offering it, is that they offer such a variety of materials for a variety of learning styles, and I'm finding that very helpful. So I can read the notes, and then I can listen to the lectures, and then I can do the quiz, and then I can do the revision, or look at the other resources. And to have that kind of, I'm not all that bright, I have to say, and to have a lot of different ways of stuffing information into my head is very, very helpful. To have that repetition available to me, I find very, very handy.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. And Kevin, how have your employees found their studies, particularly the SQ1 prep course? How are they getting along with that?
They found it hard,
Mm.
to be honest, because it is, we sometimes, because it's so flexible, I am guided by them as to what I want to do. We have some people who are still doing the LPC part-time. We have some people who work in non-fee earning roles doing various courses of study because they want to do that first. So whether that's on our new inquiries team or maybe in our support roles, we've had people finish their LPC while they were doing secretarial roles or admin support roles, or the ones that I can give you the most recent experience of. We've got a lady in corporate, and she has found it hard because her area of work is hard. It's very demanding. All clients are demanding. Corporate clients like to think that they're the most demanding, but all clients are demanding. It's hard. It's not going from school to college to uni to do. It's not the same thing. I think that's just to give a balanced view. It's not easy, but the flexibility from Law Training Centre, which is why, and the quality, which is why we're aligned. I know that people will get quality training at a pace and a time that they dictate, because they're the grown-ups, actually. By the time that they're doing this, they are grown-ups and they're in charge of their career, and they want it maybe more than we do, because they're personally invested. But we're all aligned. We want it. So it's a conversation, and what is a nightmare to manage is the beauty for the staff, because everybody's on different. And I think that's just admin from our end, and that's absolutely fine. That conversation and allowing people to choose their pace, and Law Training Centre does that, just brilliantly.
Right. For people who are just like generally, if you have an employee, for example, that comes to you and goes, Kevin, I'm really struggling, I'm finding it hard.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them to help them get back on track with their studies?
So when I went to university, my dad gave me a bin, and he said, if it's all too much, put it in the bin. And then if it doesn't fit in the bin, you need to have a chat with yourself, because you've gone so far that actually you just need a break, and you can get through this. Look how far you've come. But the bin is always there. You don't have to do this. The sun will still set and rise whatever happens. This is something that you choose to do. We are here only once. I was, like I said, carpet shop, security guard, all the rest of it. When you've decided to do it, it's just a conversation. Do you need space? Do you need unpaid leave? Do you need holiday? Do you need some study leave? We give study leave. Not all firms do, but we do. But you can take some holiday. You can take a break. You can talk to Law Training Centre. You can defer things. You can resit. Yeah, I had to resit when I was at university. No shame. It will come and it will go. You've got this. You've decided to do it. Just take a breath, because it's a step. It's a really important step, but it's just a step. You've done loads of steps to get here.
Great. Thanks for that, Kevin. Just to touch on the importance of work experience, I'm sure, Kevin, you've probably had a lot of people come to you asking questions. How can I get work experience? Can I apply to your firm for work experience? Any vacation schemes? So, of course, it's important because, as we all know, it is part of the requirements to qualify as a solicitor, but it's also important in other aspects, not only just for personal development, but again, it just opens doors up in terms of longevity within the career field. But I just want to hear from you specifically, Kevin, just to explain why work experience is so crucial for aspiring legal professionals.
It might not be popular, but it's my view. Experience is important. World experience, life experience, being responsible for people, for money, for service delivery is experience. And that can be in a pub, that can be in a coffee shop, that can be in a bar. I only speak for myself and my firm. There are many firms that provide really excellent online vacation schemes, or many excellent schemes. Work experience in the classic sense of doing something for a few days or shadowing someone for a few days will probably help you decide if you want to do that career or not. But it's not going to give you anything for a few days here and there. I discount it. And I will discount back schemes. I will discount, online schemes. I will discount if you've done a week when you were 15 down there. What I care about is that you've worked hard. If you've worked and learned, you could do SQE1 prep while you're not doing legal work. You can study. You won't get through the door until you've done the 2 years, but you can go and get a belt. And for me, in terms of recruitment, whatever role, whether it's Silex or LPC or SQE, anybody that wants to train, what's your attitude like? What's your track record of being responsible like? You can't all be captain of the chess club at university, but what did you do? Were you the treasurer? Did you look after the money? Have you done anything for charity? Have you worked in your dad's shop or your mum's shop? All of that is far more interesting and far more relevant from our point of view as a firm. Value that much, much more.
Brilliant. So for those who are just struggling to just even get started, they don't know where to begin, how to even get the work placements, whether that's in the legal sector or outside of the legal sector, what would be your advice for them on how to get started?
So I'll go back to the chat I had with this young lady yesterday. First thing is to think, what do you want to do? It's no good. Like my mum used to say to me, you want to be a solicitor. When will you then be good enough to be a barrister? This isn't external forces. This is what do you want to do? And very few people understand the legal sector properly anyway. So what area of law do you want to work in? What area of the country or planet do you want to work in or on? And what sort of firm? Because until you can address all of that with a geography, are you online and remote and never seeing anybody, or are you in this office all the time? Is it all of that? Once you find out where you want to live and work, and the sort of firm and the sort of area, you'll have a very short list of firms that you're interested in, and do whatever you need to pay the bills in the meantime, but badger them. Social media makes it so much easier, and don't be proud. Get a job in the call center as the secretary, as the receptionist, and once you're in, it is an awful lot easier than when you're not. We have people who've done that, and doing it now, and who've secured through that route. Not because we made them do stuff first, but you've got to be humble. The competition is insane. It has always been this way. Every generation thinks they have it harder in terms of getting in. It's always been, even article clerks back before, I was born. You hear the stories. It was always really difficult to get your foot in the door and just get in that building and work at it. Give you an idea, we would expect paralegal with no experience who came to work for us that we trained up probably to do that for up to 2 years before they would get traditional training contract, and probably similar for the SQE now. So it's not a 2-year process, it's probably a 4-year process, but it happens all the time. We're going to give out 3 more SQEs on Friday.
Wow.
all through Law Training Centre, all to paralegals.
Amazing. So just touching on, good thing about the SQE is that the work experience is very broad. So you're not just restricted to a traditional law firm. You can also take work experience in voluntary or charitable organizations like a law center or a clinic. So Katy, you've obviously had over 20 years of experience as citizens advice. So it would be great if you could just share what your day-to-day work was like, how you went about, getting your work experience for those who want to take that sort of route rather than going through a law firm.
Okay. I did start a very long time ago as a voluntary advisor on the telephones, taking calls with all sorts of issues coming in. did specialise in disability actually for quite a long time. But I think what working in, but I became a paid advisor very quickly, and the voluntary sector can do that for you. The voluntary sector can give you the grounding as a volunteer, and then it can feed you into a paid position, and then in your paid position you get training in all sorts of things, benefit system, in all sorts of stuff. And I've got various qualifications where that kind of thing is concerned, domestic abuse, that kind of thing. And what you get is work with real people in real situations with real problems. And that gives you the skills to work with individuals, the skills to do the interviewing, the skills to do accurate advice, the skills to do the writing up, because there's an awful lot of writing up in the advice sector. You need to send out advice letters which are correct, which are accurate, which are, I mean, the basics just well justified, properly written documents which give good information, which the sentence structure is right, that kind of thing, and you need to be able to report back to your to your managers. You need to do a good job. You are quality checked all the time. That there is a constant kind of series of checks and balances in the voluntary sector, which makes sure that you are giving the right advice to the right people in a good speed and a good pace. You get an enormous variety of issues. It depends a little bit on which kind of advice sector, which kind of advice organisation you work in. Some do specialise in housing, some specialise in disability, some are quite generalist, but you get a culture of service as well. You get to understand what people need and how best to help people with an enormous variety of issues that come up. And you can decide where you want to specialise it, and if you do. And having that grounding, and for me it's important. I grew up in a community which was very much involved with giving back to, participating in the world, and you're not out for yourself, you're out to help further society and culture generally. And being able to do that in a very practical manner, which gives people resources and skills to help themselves, hopefully as much of the time as you can, but also to take the weight off people when they're really struggling. It's really valuable and really important. I'm not sure I've entirely answered the question though.
No, perfect. I'm glad you actually touched on the skills and how it actually benefits you professionally as well. So I was wondering if Sunny, if you could just also share about the work experience you've gained and how that's contributed to your personal and professional growth as well.
Do you mean in my past
Yeah, be your
yeah.
past, present.
Yeah, so I first started work experience at law firm in London in personal injury. I was in charge of my own caseload, and it was gained a lot of experience there. I was there for 6 months, and then I moved on. Then I had done Citizens Vice Bureau as a volunteer for 2 years. I dealt with debt and housing issues. I dealt with various different aspects, and interviewing and dealing with clients. That's a key thing that as a solicitor you must get used to, dealing with clients, dealing with managing clients' expectations. And that's one thing I learned before I started working actually in a legal field. So that was a good experience there. Then as I mentioned, I started as a paralegal in a family law department, dealing with public law matters and private law matters such as legal aid matters. That again was great experience. I realized lawyer does many different things, and witness statements, client interviews, and dealing with various background and admin stuff. So it's all rolled into one. So you have to take on board a lot of different skills and different tasks. So as I mentioned, I started my training contract. Again, same thing as a paralegal, but just with more responsibility, more looking after your own clients, looking after your own diary, and your own management. So just having a lot more responsibility, a lot more independence. Yeah, so in terms of you gain a lot of experience doing different things, doing different steps, different stages. You learn different skills.
Right. So I was wondering, were there any challenges you faced in your journey to obtain the work experience that you have? And if so, how did you overcome them?
So the challenge probably was not having, as kind of Kevin mentioned earlier, having the experience in the first place to get your foot in the door. So which is why I started working with volunteering at the Citizens Advice Bureau, just building my skills, my experience, my attributes. And then once I found an opening in terms of my paralegal job, that's when I really focused and delved in. So the challenge was getting the job that I can see myself for the long term at least. And then the further challenge was finding the training contract. So as again Kevin mentioned, a lot of competition, and it's very hard to get these training contracts and finding the place that you really want to settle in. So that was probably my biggest challenge. But luckily enough, I found the training contract in the end. I'm at a firm that I can see myself being in the long term. And as Kevin mentioned, I was just thinking what he said about the three aspects, and happy to say at my firm now I've got the three aspects, and that's probably the hardest thing, matching those three aspects. And yeah, so that's probably. But like I say, you face challenges, but then with perseverance, and as Kevin mentioned, if you're here to do it, you're here to persevere and get through the challenges, overcome the challenges. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sunny. So, Katie, as we mentioned earlier, the SQE qualifying work experience can be taken overseas, but could you tell us about the restrictions this may have caused prior to the SQE?
One major restriction that I feel that used to be the case was that even if when people used to do the LPC and they wanted to get this dual qualification, let's say from certain countries who actually do follow to an extent Commonwealth laws and common laws, they used to have at least, it was a requirement that they should have at least like 3 4 5 years of work experience, and also in particular field, and only then, it was a lengthy process, cumbersome process. But now, even if you have a assistant, like assistant legal counsel experience for let's say 2 years, and the solicitor signs off considering all the parameters by the SRA, then you do have a qualifying work experience. So I feel that the process has become much more streamlined now, and more people from, let's say, even people from finance, banking, insurance, any sector, technology, they can become lawyers, even at the age of 30, 40. The age thing also, I think it really does not matter now, because it's an interdisciplinary thing. Most of the things that we do in a commercial context at work, more people can now join in and do the SQE. So the QWE requirements, now that they've been simplified, it makes more sense.
So, what does it mean to you working in Dubai and being qualified as a solicitor of England and Wales?
So basically, like I told you before, we have common law courts here,
Mm.
and it's because of the agreement. There's an agreement by the government. They're making more free zones here, and more common law would apply to it. So it really does mean a lot to me, because this is like the major, like Kevin said, this is not just the main step, but again, it is a step and in the right direction for a very demanding, very promising career in future. So therefore, I chose this SQE path.
Brilliant, thank you. So, Sunny, I just wanted to ask you, as you're aware, the SQE is assessed at a level of a day one solicitor, whereas the LPC is more assessed from a day one trainee. So, in your own personal opinion, do you think studying the SQE2, or without studying the SQE2, you would have hit the ground running as intended?
To a certain extent, yes. I'd say, I don't know, maybe 60, 70% yes. So you'd have the legal knowledge, you'd have like the skills of writing and interviewing, you'd have that, and you'd know that well, and obviously you would have passed. However, there's a lot of things behind the scenes as a solicitor that you're not quite showing as studying. So practicalities, the dealing with clients, making sure that all the conflict checks are done, just diary management and your own personal management, dealing with seniors and how to deal with various colleagues. So to a certain extent, yes, it'd be definitely a good foundation, but I still think the only best way really to know what it's like to be a solicitor is to be a solicitor and actually work in an office, knowing your targets, knowing your demands, and that as mentioned before, managing expectations, managing the admin side of things. So there's a lot more to do practicality wise. Of course, you'd have more support. If you got stuck, you could ask your senior. So yeah, like I say, probably like 70%, I'd say you'd be ready. But then there's still a bit more, like as Kevin mentioned, the best way is to get experience and to be in doing the work sort of thing.
Yeah. Would you
Yeah.
say, as you're obviously doing the practical side of things,
Mm.
that helps you understand like the SQE2 just a bit better, because obviously it covers just the practical aspect?
Exactly, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, they've both gone in hand, very much hand in hand. So as I've been doing the practical element, I've realised that learning certain things, okay, that makes sense. Oh, this is why they said this during the SQE studies, and vice versa. When I'm studying the SQE, I said, I know what happens next because I've done it, so I know the process, and that's the key thing to be fair. As when you're working, you know the process, you know what happens next, you know what you expect from the other side solicitor, you know the procedure, and that's a key thing that you learn. It was some formulas. I always felt that some formulas as a day one solicitor you can search up, whereas as an SQE studier student you have to know it. Whereas I feel that once you're in the field you can search it up. You'd have maybe a chart, or you'd have a plan for it, sort of thing. So it varies in that sense. But in terms of are you ready, I'd say almost.
Brilliant.
Mm.
Thanks, Sunny. So, Kevin, I just wanted to ask you, how do you find the relevance of the SQE in practice, in legal practice?
It's helpful. It's in the background. I think, Sonny has covered that. There's things you learn on the LPC that get you through the LPC because you need that step, But the SQE, the one thing about the flexibility is if you've got that sweet spot and you've just done a thing and you just study the thing, then you go, oh, brilliant. Look, it's a stepping stone, and it's probably more relevant. I think that if you ask everybody, how should solicitors, if you ask 10 lawyers, you'll get 10 different. I think that working and learning is good because it's cheaper for you as a human, whether the firm is paying or you're paying, but also it's hard because you're doing two things at once rather than one thing in front of the other. I'm glad I'm not doing it because I've already done mine. I've got my bit of paper and I've done more steps. But if I was choosing now, I would choose the SQE over the LPC because it's more affordable and it's certainly not less good training. Whether it suits you more because you can work and learn or you want to do it differently, that's none of my business. That's down to the learner. But I would choose the SQE if I was leaving university now.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for tuning into the Legal Navigator podcast. We hope you found today's episode informative and engaging. If you have any questions or need more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can send us an email to info@ltckent.com or visit our website at ltckent.co.uk. Until next time, stay tuned for more episodes.